वरदे कामरूपिणी विद्यारंभं करिष्यामि यद्ये भवतु मे सदा देवीं सुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं हरि ओम. Yes, can somebody click anything that we saw last in short, and we'll quickly go ahead into the next. Yes, anybody? Yes, Ramesh sir? Yes, sir.
Last session, Krishna was talking about both the demonic natures as well as the divine quality.
Yes, sir.
Yesterday, the demonic natures were explained by Sri Krishna to Arjuna. He says that Asuri Swabhava, the one who exists, who exhibits this, he says he exists because of his desire. And those who are demonic, they do not know what they are doing, what they do not do. They are not clean, they are not trustworthy basically, and they don't exhibit a proper behavior. The demonic person says that the world is delusional, it is unreal, there is no God, it is just produced by desire is what he says. With such characters, with such conclusions, the demonic person, they engage in destroying the world. Works that result in destruction of the world. They take in false shelter in false prestige, and they are always doing this unclean work. So this is what we had learned in brief. And then they have hundreds, bound by hundreds of desires. They even go up to the extent of killing their enemies to accumulate wealth. And this wealth, whatever they get accumulated, they feel that they are doing some noble cause by just doing some charity. It is done more of a lip service rather than from the heart. So such people, they do not follow any rules or regulations.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Perfectly said, sir, Ramesh. Thank you very much, sir. So the very aspect of this divine and demonic nature is not for labeling anybody as divine or demonic. Many times we get into the trap. I am divine, everybody else are demonic, or X, Y, Z is demonic. But this is just for identifying the nature of people, for ourselves, for our sadhana, because number one is we saw we cannot trust untruthfulness. We cannot engage because what happens many times our emotions get the better of us. So how do we identify Asuric trait? Well, sometimes Asuric trait can be in people we consider close also. So in these matters, we must be very cautious when dealing with people with Asuri nature. Again, atheism itself is not so bad. But when somebody is atheistic and deriving a sort of pleasure in making fun of the other person's Shraddha, that becomes again an Asuri Swabhava. And atheism is not something which is that until realization comes, I think people will ask questions. And that is probably Sanatan Dharma is about that. Arjuna also asked questions after saying Shishyasteham also. He asked to Krishna, he said, how can I believe you? How am I supposed to believe what you are saying? Did you teach the Surya? How? I don't really understand. So the questioning part is fine. But somewhere the questioning stops, somewhere tamas enters. This is not higher knowledge. This is actually getting trapped in one's own ahankara, one's own desires. So if there is no God, there is no higher truth also. If there's no higher truth, what is the motivation for working? Nothing. Just to accumulate more, get max benefit. Like people chewing gum. After a while, after all the taste is gone, spit it out. That's all. It's something like that. They look at life that way only. Desires. They want to, they cannot appreciate beauty. They have to accumulate it. It's like flowers look beautiful without plucking also, isn't it? Look at a plant and you can see the beauty of the flower on the plant and you can enjoy it. You can experience its consciousness also. If you look at it beautifully, you can just look at it. It's something so special. But somebody feels, no, 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 I need to have it, so the person plucks it without. If you're offering to the divine, it's a different aspect. It's a beautiful bhava, you're offering it. But even that has to be plucked consciously. But one person who's having desire will simply, on the street, I saw a beautiful flower, let me pluck it. I saw this person's, this object is looking attractive, let me grab it. I want to show my superiority over another person, let me show it. That is the nature of an Asuri Swabhava. Everywhere, Dambha, Abhimana, everywhere that person is running around, trying to show. The problem is when you try to show you are the boss, what happens? Nobody likes it. And nobody considers you as a boss also. The real leader is not someone who is shouting loudly and saying, I am the leader. The real leader is one who is walking the talk. His karma makes a person a leader. People recognize him. He doesn't have to do anything special. Many times I'm shouting, so my voice is getting hurt. No, you're shouting because your voice is not having a value. You have not coupled it with karma. Karma is equally important. That is something which is not, there is no, everything is with phala hetu. Everything is with a desire for getting return. Such a person, unfortunately, is miserable. He cannot sit in, become alone. One of the very good observations, psychological observations of a growing child is if the child is able to play alone, no? You can say the child is having a very good mentality because continuously the same thing happens to a grown-ups also who are running after desires. Not a moment can they spend. People get attached to the name, to the fame, to the position that they have. Sometimes, people are so used to getting that. Some people get always are in the media limelight during their careers. When that media glaze is away, what happens then? They feel empty. Heads of big institutes used to people always saluting them, and suddenly, after a while, nobody's saluting. Right? That was the man of the position, isn't it? Of the institutional head. When you leave that institutional head, you're not going to carry it around that I was institutional head. ठीक है. People who are in that institute will respect, but the entire world will not know about it. But people are trapped in that. And these are all little traps. But slowly, this Asuri nature corrupts a person. You can actually observe changes if you track that person's life. It all started with something small. Nobody is black and white, painted good, painted bad. But desires, problem with desires is one desire leads to second leads to third, and then compromises are made in the name of desire because there is no higher truth, there is no higher purpose, there is no deva, only desire. I am the greatest. So these people start feeling they are better than everybody else, better than the best, sometimes better than God also. I don't believe in God. My mother told me about her colleague yesterday, actually, after the session. She just told me that one colleague had come angrily and because he was not invited for some religious festival. And basically, the person had declared he is not having any belief in any of it, so he was not invited. But he came and said, I am God. So she was saying that he was very angry and it went on for some time. And then she just gave a smirk and said, now that God got suspended from work for some reason. Again, it was something related to doing something wrong, driven by desires, to such a point that this person, being such a high position, also fell prey to the desires, got into a case of he got an harassment was done against him. He got it was proven by the committee. A lot of people spoke about that with evidences, and this person lost the position. Now, did God fall from grace or man fell from grace? It was man only, isn't it? But the man begins to feel, I am so great. I know to enjoy. I am the real owner. I am the real enjoyer. The sadhak does not think that way. Tadiyam vastu govindam tubhyam eva samarpayet. Nothing belongs to me. Ishavasya sarvam. Yes, Suresh ji is saying something. Please unmute, sir. Please unmute, sir. I can't hear you. Yes, sir.
Can we find Asuri Swabha in Sattvic people also?
Yeah. Sattva is a state. No, it's a state, isn't it? These are all three gunas are inside everybody.
Intertwined.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Intertwined.
Yes, and we all three gunas are inside of us. Monday morning, I have tamas guna. I say, "Arey, factory, Sunday tha. It was very nice. What is happening? Guna is coming. No? Then if I yield to it, I'll become tamasic. Suddenly something doesn't happen my way. I'll get rajasic and I will reject it. I say, what is this? I don't believe it. I don't like it. So these three gunas keep coming in everybody. So we are actually in the Prakriti. Our aspiration is to rise beyond the gunas. But
so is it
function.
predetermined? One can
No.
pretend? No.
No. Predetermination of things that we'll look at it in the 18th adhyay. That question is going
I'll
to
do today. I'll do this, that, everything. I'll behave like this whole day. Something like I can think and come and act like that.
predetermined in the sense you are saying you can predetermine how you want to behave and choose to not.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is true. That is our free will. We have the free will. Means nature is trying to assign some impositions on us, but it is not the beautiful aspect of humanity is we have a free will inside of us. We can choose.
I'll not get angry today. I'll
Yeah,
remain calm.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Something like that
Yeah.
is
If this,
possible.
yeah, it's possible. And if somebody,
Only we
yeah,
should have control
yes, yes,
control over it.
absolutely. This is actually the master key in avoiding 99% of the fights.
Uh,
In all ages, even young siblings also they decide, Arey, Rajesh is going to come. My brother has come in, he's going to trigger me. I will not get triggered. And the person who's trying to trigger will get disappointed. Because these
uh,
are moments, these are the game of forces, sir, they play. But
yeah,
like we cannot control another person, but we can control ourselves, how we react.
yeah,
And then there are higher states of Gunatit when the divine functions through us, then we don't have to worry about anything. The experience comes. So let us continue. So yes, so we saw all of this, and Krishna said this person feels I have to eliminate my enemies, which is again a useless hypothesis. You cannot eliminate your enemies. You go running after your enemies, you will get more enemies in the process. They will all become more united. They will stand together. Only way you can win over your enemies is win their hearts. It is simple. There was one nice song, I think, in yesteryears of Bollywood. मुकाबला हमसे ना करो, हम तुम्हें अपने रंग में रंग डालेंगे एक ही पल में. Means instead of fighting, instead of trying to, what happens? We try to show we are dominating over another person. There is no reconciliation at all. There's only compromise. What happens in a compromise? One person is higher party, other person is lower party. That is also temporary, isn't it? The moment that the scale tilts, nature keeps tilting the scale, it's dynamic. Then the person who had lost in the previous compromise tries to gain in this and bring about another compromise. So the continuous fight is always there. But both ends can meet in what we call reconciliation. Sri Aurobindo talked about reconciliation of the highest matter and spirit. In Savitri, it was written, and matter shall reveal the spirit's face. How is it possible? Where will you get that? How will you realize it? I think first thing is ground. That's why Gita is said to be the very important practical scripture for reading the ground for sadhana, for reading what they call the adhar, the base for receiving higher consciousness. We have to become strong, and that is why these gunas come into play. So, and now Krishna is introducing Asuri Swabhava. He says, don't let Asuri Swabhava come inside. Ramana also the story of the Tandav. If you look at the symbolism behind it also, what is it? Before the Tandav Stotra was composed, some people today say it was not exactly composed by Ramana. Some people agree it was composed. Whatever it is, let us go to the story rather than the exact antiquity of the story. What is the aspect is a bhakta of Shiva who was very powerful, very strong, wanted to go and meet his Aradhya, isn't it? What is wrong in that? I love the Aradhya. I will go and meet him. But who is this Nandi? Nandi came and blocked his path. So he was angry. Again, what was his anger? It was Rajas only, isn't it? Rajas. So you see what happens when Rajas enters? He decides what Nandi is going to stop me. And you see, Nandi is Gunatit or having highest sattva that he's able to stop such a powerful being. He says, path for you is now closed. I will not allow you to go forward. Shiva is in his dhyana. I will not allow you to disturb his trance. Now the bhakta's rajas is increasing. You see, again, bhakti is sattvic in its essence, isn't it? Bhakti in its essence is sattvic. But in that sattvic, there is a shade of rajas now coming in because of the sabhava. So that rajas is now taking over the bhakti. What does he do? He then decides to lift the Kailasha. He decides to, I will wake my master, I will make the Shiva, I will wake him out of the trance. How can he not visit? How can he not see his bhakta coming? He must beat his bhakta. And so for a moment, Ravana, using his brute strength, lifts the Kailasha. The whole world is shocked. Everybody is wondering what's going to happen. And Shiva is still in his trance. And again, he's conscious everywhere. So what does he do? With the tip of his finger, or tip of his toe, he pushes it back down. And where does it fall? On to Ravana. People say Ravana means the one who cries out loud because he shouted so loudly. Everybody heard his voice. All three locusts people could. One second. Carry on. of his finger or tip of his toe, he pushes it back down. And Hari Om. Yeah. So 1 second, there's something wrong with the yeah. New technology, newer difficulties coming. Okay, Hari Om. Yeah. So what happened is Shiva pushes down the Kailasha onto Ravana. Now he screams. So what has happened now? In Rajas increased so much that he did a very tamasic action, which is a senseless action. What did he do? He tried to wake his Aradhya. Will we ever dare to disturb our Aradhya? Somebody we love, somebody we adore. No, isn't it? But this is Rajas Guna functioning inside that Bhakta, maybe the greatest Bhakta. Now he's screaming and he is in pain. What happens after that? After that, Nandi comes to him and Nandi says, appease, ask for grace, ask for forgiveness. Bholenath will forgive you. Whatever happens, Bholenath is Bholenath. He will accept sincere prayers. And that is where Sattva Guna starts functioning inside of the same Ravana. And he composes what is called Shiva Tandava Stotra. It may sound crazy. I mean, imagine Asura loudly screaming Jata, Tavi, Gala, Jwala, Pravaha, Pavita, Sthali. But look at the composition. So beautiful it is that even today we respect the composition because it's so beautiful. Nobody cares who has composed it. But you see what has happened? Guna, which was what was Sattva Guna? Sattva Guna was taking over. So this is what we see. The gunas can function. They will keep functioning inside of us. We have to be aware. Only if we look at the first three shlokas of this adhyay, we can understand what is the Devi Swabhava. We can hold on to it. We may not have all the qualities, but we can always hold on to what is, Shanti. Shanti should be there, peace should be there, Abhaya should be there, fearlessness should be there. Then one dedication to learn, dedication to grow, humility, all these factors. If we lose any of this, we can understand, oops, looks like I'm getting carried away, going onto the wrong path. Because what happens when you walk on the wrong path? Hell awaits us, not hell in another loka, not hell in another realm. This very realm appears like hell. The Ananda is lost. You are with your friends and you're not able to enjoy. What's the meaning of that? That's unfair, isn't it? Your best friends, you want to celebrate the moments with your dear ones and near ones, but you are not able to because of this only, because of this. So, and Krishna says, first he talks about these worst people who go to hurt people, who go to kill people, who do manipulation at all times, and sometimes they do the worst of worst sins. They have consequences. They cannot think that nothing will happen. Krishna goes on, let's go for the 18th shloka. He says, Ahankaram balam darpam kamam krodam cha sanshritaha mamatma paradeheshu pradveshanto bhyasuyakaha. With egoism in their strength, a bloated arrogance, and minds consumed by desire, anger, and ignorance, they deride the God that in all living being resides, and also the God that within themselves resides. So what are they doing? They are ridiculing themselves. They are forgetting the divinity present inside of themselves or in others also. These are the worst people. People do some very wrong things, isn't it? We've heard of there are murderers, there are crooks, there are indifferent people. Very recently, we saw one. There was a very disturbing video of someone just in a village. Somebody was trying to take over a land. Somebody came to defend that land. And what did that person do? He had a machine, a JCB machine. He dropped all the load onto that person while the person was standing. That woman was standing up against him, and he dared to do that. What is all of this? This is sick, isn't it? No value for a human life. Which life is not valuable? There cannot be somebody's life is more valuable or somebody's less. But somebody with Asurik Swabhava thinks that only and suddenly stops respecting other people's values. Other people's, even other person's perspective. Forget other person's perspective. This person does not even see another person alive. The person is not able to recognize it. So the person does wrong things. And we have seen again, Raja Esha, Kama Esha, Krodha Esha, Rajoguna Samudbhava. Kama and Krodha, anger, desire, take over continuously. And then people do the wrong things. Tanaham dvishadah krurans sansareshu naradhaman Shipamya Sramashubhan Asureshveva Yonishu. These beings to whom both God and good are detestable. They are the vilest of creatures, inhuman and despicable. These beings I send into the lowest wombs of earth. Repeatedly, they suffer the pangs of a demonic birth. Krishna says a punishment awaits them, not just this birth. The karmas take them ahead, and the story is not over. They will have to bear the consequences of the karma. Maybe this birth they may think they are avoiding certain, but certain karma phala, the karma phala is never gone. It continues. This is the aspect of the cycle of karma. Somebody felt they can hang Mangal Pandey and finish off the spirit of freedom. They could not, isn't it? It rose. It rose in so many other people. Who knows the next birth? What was the next birth of that revolutionary? He was that fire which was burning in so many people. That is the Agni. The same Agni is the Agni of the Rig Veda also. The fire of aspiration inside of every human being. That is one. So that cannot be stopped. But people who are driven by their ahankar, they keep doing that and then they suffer consequences. Just because I am now in a big position, nobody can touch me is what people feel after going to a particular position. But that's not the case. The divine is always there. And Krishna says, I punish them even in the next birth. They are born into similar situations from where they'll have to suffer. Asurim yonimapanna mudha janmani mama prapyaiva kaunteya tato yantya dhamam gatim. Ever so deluded are those creatures that are consumed in their own selfish natures. For birth after birth, they find me not, and they sink to the lowest of stages that can be got. Krishna says, Mudha janmani. Birth after birth, they go into that because they're trapped in their ahankara. They do not find the divine, and nothing is more unfortunate than not finding the divine in life. Means it's like you have everything in your life, but you have never understood the presence of divinity. You have actually missed out on a big aspect of life. If you have never felt their experience of divinity, the divine, you have because you are thinking only about yourself. The self is very limited, isn't it? Today I have strength, tomorrow I may not have strength. If I pride myself only in strength, as long as I have strength, I will be able to relate to it. But when it leaves me, I'll feel like a fish out of water. I'll lose my existence purpose, I'll lose meaning, I'll lose direction. That's not what we should do. We should realize we are something more than what we are on the outside. But that search never begins. It's like the adventure has never started for such a person. That is a sad thing, of course. Krishna goes on, he says, Trividham narakasyedam dwaram nashanam atmanaha kamah krodhas tatha lobha tasmadetat trayam tyajet. These are the gates of darkness. Threefold are the gates of darkness and destruction that sentence a being to hell's damnation. Desire, rage, and lust are the accursed three. By renouncing them only can man be free. So these are the gates, Krishna says, triple gates of Naraka. So Naraka Dwara, who is opening it? We are only opening it. And then Naraka is flooding into our life. So what are the three gates? Desire, rage, and lust. What do we do if we know that one gate is weak or one gate is not so, means one gate is likely to be anytime opened without our knowledge also? What do we do then? Anybody? Yes? Or what we have three borders, isn't it, for India? Three sides. We have what do our soldiers do? We know a particular border alongside Pakistan. Can we leave it unguarded? Can we leave it unprotected? नहीं कोई बात नहीं. Nobody will do any infiltration. What do we do? Anybody? If we see one gate is a little weak,
We have to be vigilant all the
yes,
time.
absolutely so. Absolutely, Dr. Atulji. We have to be vigilant, recognize ourselves, know ourselves. Damliji always says, know thyself. Know everything else except know yourself, then it's no use. Recognize, okay, desire will take control of me anytime. I need to be alert. As Dr. Atulji says, vigilant. A sadhak is ever vigilant. Morning, afternoon, night, midnight, anytime. No force enters into this sadhak because sadhak says, no, I am not going to allow a lower force to take control of me. So, desire, rage, lust. These three are responsible for bringing hell into our lives. Because when you have lots of desires, or say if you have lust, can you ever feel gratitude? Can gratitude, the feeling of gratitude, come inside of you?
No, you will probably feel you want something else or something more. So you will never be satisfied.
You'll never be satisfied, isn't it? When gratitude is not there, you will not have a happy experience with life. Sometimes people have nothing and still have gratitude and they enjoy it. Means even less appears more when you have that much gratitude in your heart. But when you don't have gratitude, you might have everything and still you will feel empty. People sit on, they say, this is oh, such a, I'm head of this particular organization, I'm head of this institute, but what a lonely place it is. Nobody is there around me. Everybody is there around you, everybody is looking up to you, but you're not able to see that. Why? Because gratitude is not there for that position, that place, gratitude towards the divine. All these bhavas don't come. And like this, there are so many things. Sincerity also disappears because desires become more important. It's okay if I'm insincere to fulfill my desire. Again, these are all little things which people don't value so much, but they actually are the most valuable and precious things in life. And those are lost. And what happens then? The gates break, the gates are breached, Naraka enters into our lives. It is in our hands to control whether our life is Naraka or Vrindavan. We can experience both, as we have seen, isn't it? Atmaiva bandhuratmana, Atmaiva ripuratmana. As Krishna says, there is a friend inside or there is an enemy inside. When is it the friend? The inner spirit is the friend when you are able to you conquer the pulls of lower nature. And when is it the enemy? When you don't even know that there is a divinity inside of you. That is the problem. So here Krishna is saying, know thyself, become divine, throw these gates, close these gates. I mean, no, don't throw them open, close them. Etair vimuktaha kaunteya tamodvarais tribhirnaraha acharatyat manaha shreyaha tato yati param gatim. Oh Arjuna, liberated from the dark, from the doors of darkness, man can attain a union in my oneness. Thakurji comes. Kanaji's presence is experienced when these gates are closed. O Arjuna, liberated from the doors of darkness, man can attain a union in my oneness. For then he can journey on his own alone, reaching the highest status of the soul that is known. The Atma Bodha, this will be realized. What will you realize? Soham, I am that. And I think this must be our mission of life. I should realize the divinity. The Katham, this question was there. How am I God? How is it divine? How am I divine? Look, this body with its limitations, is it divine? Is it housing the divine? How do I relate to it? Well, this is a question so many Vedantic scholars, sadhaks asked, and those who realized it became called the awakened ones. So we can also aspire for it because that is the time. It is time we realize it, not for ourselves only, but for the sake of the world, for Loka Sangraha. Let mankind realize then all the unnecessary things that are happening in the world can actually, there is hope. There is hope. Otherwise, people say there's no hope. There's no hope in the world. No, there is a lot of hope, but we'll have to become the harbingers of that hope. We have to be the torchbearers for that light. And we are in a position, fortunately, we are in a position where we are able to study the Gita. That itself is a bhagya, isn't it? Many people's lives, they're cut short by disease, by other complications, by sometimes by obligations, sometimes by karma bandhanas, sansara's traps are hundreds and thousands of them. So the fact that we are able to even study the Gita, the same words that Krishna uttered so many thousands of years ago, we are able to relate to it. That does imply that we're not just reading it for our entertainment or satisfaction only. It is for realizing and probably bringing it into practice. And when we become practice, when we bring it into practice, we become the representatives of Krishna and his action. And there is a divine and concrete action taking place. That is something. But for that, again, close the doors of rage, lust, and desire. Because Krishna says, "Oh Arjuna, liberated from the doors of darkness, man can attain a union in my oneness. For then he can journey on his own, alone, reaching the highest status of the soul that is known. Such a person, such a person can, such a person can actually realize the divine, is what Krishna is saying, and journey alone as well. Fear of being alone is the biggest fear in many people's lives, isn't it? Everybody fears what if nobody is there? Not for the sadhak. Krishna is there, divine is there. I'm never alone. Ekla Chalo Re. I think you must have heard of that song, isn't it? Ravindra Geet. Ekla Chalo Re. What is the meaning of it? Because nobody is playing with me, I'm going to go alone. Like children say, is it that or is it something higher? We're all alone. We are born alone only, isn't it? Or were we born with our companions? Even if we may have wonderful siblings who are very helpful or who are very irritating, whatever name we want to call them. We were not born with siblings at the same time. Even twins are born together, but they have their own life journeys, isn't it? Each person has their own life journey. And we are going to go alone only, isn't it? It is something like that. This is something we must recognize. And when you are aware of it, you're aware of your journey. You'll have wonderful companions in your journey. You can experience that. But the journey is the individual journey. Each person has to take. And that sadhana a person is able to take. And the aspect of discipline and intensity in sadhana, how will it come? Only when you are having that confidence of walking alone, when you're yourself and the Aradhya, yourself and the Aradhya. Aradhya will guide you, Guru will guide you. Enough. Many people say just having a Guru is sufficient. Guru will take care of everything. You're ready. You can face the entire world with the Abhaya Hasta behind you. The Guru's hand. Guru Eka Jagit Rata. That invisible hand that is guiding you, that hand will take you across. So this aspect of becoming conscious is enough. And such a person can be free. Freed for what? Free from all these unnecessary bandhanas. Free for recognizing his sole preoccupation, which is to realize the divinity. That should be the main aspiration for everyone. And where is this divinity? Not in some beautiful mountain away from the world. While we are functioning in our everyday lives, in our little moments, we have to experience that. Experience what we call the rasa of divine in every moment of our life. That should be the aspiration. This is what Krishna is saying. But somebody says, no, I don't believe it. What will happen then? Nothing. Krishna is not going to get insulted. He is telling us not to get insulted when somebody says something. I'm sure he is not going to if somebody says, I don't believe in Krishna. I believe in a Krishna or I believe in absence of Krishna. It's all right. It's all right. But what are you doing with that belief is the problem. Many times you are going to walk on the wrong path, then you will have consequences. That is all Krishna is saying. Look at the next shloka. He says, Ya Shastra Vidhim Utsrajya Vartate Kamakaratah Na sa siddhim avapnoti na sukham na param gatim. There's not a curse of Krishna because you don't follow, I curse you. A lot of religions talk about it. You don't follow this book, then you will be permanently cursed. And this is not what Krishna is saying, but he's saying, but he who regards these rules mandatory, that the golden scriptures deem necessary, follows his desires and reaches the sorry plight of imperfection and sorrow that comes in the absence of light. That sorry plight, which is in the absence, never realized the divine. So he's going to follow what? Only desires. That is why Krishna says, respect the scriptures. He doesn't say, a lot of people read the Gita and start mocking the scriptures because Krishna has said, Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam. You can offer anything with love, it is sufficient. Give a leaf, give a flower. Look at all these foolish people. That is Vama Marga, this is the lower Marga, this is the Grama Devata is inferior. All these are wrong Asuri swabhava of people, Asuri traits inside of people trying to ridicule somebody else's Shraddha. Study the scriptures, scriptures have their value. One particular participant, she had a very bad experience prior to the Gita study, where somebody had forced some ritual on her, and like the Kadwa Chauth, no, that ritual was forced on her, and she didn't like it. So she felt she was very much troubled by it. She said, "I had headache, and for so many days I had trouble after it." Okay, somebody didn't have good fasting capacity, maybe, or health-wise, the person was not ready. But from then on, she said, I don't like scriptures at all. Whatever happens, I don't follow any scriptures. If it is told like this, I do opposite. What is this? This is a Rajasic reaction, isn't it? To a bad experience, it is again a Rajasic reaction. But interestingly, after the Gita study, she sent me a book with what is the meaning of scriptures? What is the meaning of rituals? I was so surprised it is coming from the same person who was once upon a time ridiculing everything. Because Gita is saying, understand the spirit of the scriptures. Don't get trapped in the outer action only, is what Krishna is saying. But he is not saying don't at all respect the actions which people do out of Shraddha. Like here, the Shastra which Krishna is talking about is the Jivan Shastra. He's specifically talking about it. He says, those who disregard these rules of life, what is going to happen? Well, they are going to follow the wrong path. They are going to follow their desires. They'll reach that unfortunate plight of imperfection, darkness. I think if you don't experience happiness in your own home, that is very unfortunate, isn't it? That's your place where you have been living, where you have created sanskaras. But if you're not feeling happiness, that is difficult. That is, you feel sorry only. Well, that is the reason why it is happening is because understand you are responsible for your ananda. A yogi can sit in the storm and be calm and peaceful. That is the power of yoga sadhana. So here we have to recognize to detach ourselves and then experience. Krishna says further, he says, Tasmat Shastram Pramanam Te Karya Vyavasthitau Gyatva Shastra Vidhanoktam Karma Kartum Niharhasi. Therefore, he says, let the scriptures be your guide, and by their truths may you always abide. Means be guided by the scriptures. Why? These are shastras. Shastras are scientific texts only. In modern language, we'll call it science. But that was some other Adhyatma Vidya is said to be Paravidya, a Vidya higher than what we call our Vaigyanik science, modern science. But understand them is what Krishna is saying. Let them be your guide and just don't read them. Live them, follow them. Otherwise, it's no use. Namlajit very nicely told, if I keep taking only classes and don't follow any of these teachings, it's of no use. Then I did like, yes, yes, sir. So one shloka, at least hold on to the one shloka. In this life, one out of the 700 shlokas I have been able to practice. I'll say, Chalo Krishna, itna to kaam ho gaya. Thank you. I have been able to do it. That is the aspiration. Ki chalo, practice, bring to practice. Otherwise, there are people who read the Gita and behave like Duryodhana. There are people like that. So it is not lip service only. It should be something deeper. I want to read 100 times, so God will give me some credit of good karma into my account and what not calculations people do. And in the process of that, they forget the remaining part of the day. The interactions with other people, how you behave. You cannot see the Aradhya out of the meditation session, then it is an unfortunate experience then. If you can only see the divine with your closed eyes, then you don't need eyes only then. What is the use of being given eyes then? Keep them closed if you are only seeing there. So Shastra has to be practiced, Shastra has to be lived. So first thing about understanding would be respecting them, but then not getting bound in the outer meaning, but trying to understand the inner meaning. That is important. Understanding them, follow their declaration in all your works and actions. Bring forth your emancipation. This is something which is important in all your works, in all your actions. That is why Adi Shankaracharya had said, Yad yad karma karomi tadakhilam shambho tavaradhanam. Every karma that I am doing, I am offering it to you, O Shambho. It is an aradhana. So much that even Nidra Samadhi Sthiti, in the Shiva Manas Puja, again, it is a Shiva Manas Puja, meaning a full Shastra Yukta puja is taking place at a time where the person is not able to visit the temple also. Inside of the mana, this person has constructed. Like I think in lockdown, we had to do that inside of our minds only. We could not visit places. So something like that, Krishna says, bring forth an emancipation. Let the Shastras start living inside of you. Let become the example, become the torch, become the light. And what you do, what you speak, let what your karma is taking place, let that become an example. And really, it will be beautiful when you see everything becomes one, integrated. Yoga is what? Oneness, isn't it? Sri Aurobindo called it Purna Yoga. All life is yoga. We call it integral yoga, meaning it is something which cannot be compartmentalized. Damleji said when I joined him first thing he asked was, do you know to cook? No, you cannot do sadhana. That was the first thing I was told. Then I did with a lot of effort. I could give him the worst dish a Shishya can give to a guru. I gave very bad noodles, which were overcooked and had no taste also. But that was my beginning. Now I learned different cuisines as well under Namliji's direction. But then he said, now you are ready to learn Ayurveda manufacturing because you have learned this. Otherwise, you would not have. So many times in life, some compartments we close. We don't have to close that completely. Bring forth emancipation in all departments. You cannot say this is not mine. Because which Kshetra is not the Kshetra of Krishna? Kshetrajna is supreme Kshetrajna in all Kshetra, isn't it? Sarva Kshetreshu Bharata, Krishna has told. So why are you deciding? No, I don't really believe too much in bhakti. I have a lot of intelligence. No use of that intelligence if bhakti's warmth is not there in your heart. Some people say, no, I am only happy with bhajan and a kirtan. I don't prefer reading. I don't prefer living the scriptures. Again, that's of no use. What's the use of this? You're again doing a lip service and you're doing what is desirable to you, not which is shreyas, not which is needed. You're just following what is prayas, what is pleasing to you. So again, that line has to be crossed. We have to go beyond what is pleasing to what is needed. And that is possible when we integrate all our actions. Sarva Kshetreshu Bharata, there is one Kshetrajna. Offer to the Kshetrajna, bring forth transformation. So this Adhyaya ends. The divine and demonic nature is basically for a sadhak to become aware of the forces at play, not just in outside people, also inside of the individual as well. There are two forces, Asuri Swabhava, Devi Swabhava. On the occult level, there is a very different language of the forces, but this is enough for us. Many times we don't understand what happens on the occult level. We get worried, we get afraid because we don't understand what it is. But if you just look at this part, this adhyaya is having enough vidya for allowing us to deal with even whatever occult forces which may be at play. The important aspect is become strong. It is said, basics are strong, then the student can challenge a master also, isn't it? Fundamentals are strong. You are good, like say a swordsman is learning, but he has learned the basics of defense and how to attack. And the basics are so strong, maybe experience is not there. But if the person does not deviate from the basics, can the student not challenge a master? Or the basics will change because the person is master. Basics will never change, isn't it? This is the fundamental truth. And fundamental truth is that which remains the same. And that is what is there here also Krishna is talking about. These Shastras, let them guide you. So with this, we ready ourselves to enter into what is the penultimate Adhyaya of the Gita, the 17th Adhyaya. Arjuna Uvacha. Arjuna is having questions, thankfully to us. Otherwise, Gita would be over before. He asks, Ye Shastra Vidimutsrajya. Krishna spoke about Shastra, so his question is again what Krishna has said. He says, Ye Shastra Vidimutsrajya Yajante Shraddhayanvitaha Tesham Nishtha Tuka Krishna Sattamaho Rajastamah I think same what Sureshji talked about, the three gunas no, today, whether these gunas govern a person's, whether Asuri Swabhava or Devi Swabhava. Something similar Arjuna has asked. He asks Krishna, oh Krishna, what about those who follow not the scripture and yet perform sacrifices of with the faith of the highest stature? What is the underlying nature of their devotion? Which of the three, Sattva, Raja, or Tamas, is their action? Anybody, is this a useless question or it's a very good question which Arjuna has asked? Anybody, what's your opinion of this? Yes, please. What is the underlying nature of a devotion? Somebody has Shraddha but does not, means is performing sacrifice with full faith but is not following the scriptures. Anybody?
It's a very good question.
Why do you feel so, Aditi ji?
Because then, whether they will be able to realize the divine or achieve moksha or the end goal, even if they are unaware of the written rule or
Yeah.
scriptures.
So, yes. So, evidently,
Inadvertently, they are doing the right thing.
inadvertently, unknowingly. All right. Yes. All right. So, okay, ji, thank you for that opinion. Yes. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha. Krishna says, Trividha bhavati shraddha dehinam sa swabhavaja satviki rajasi chaiva tamasi cheti tam shrunu. A triple combinations of the natures, it may be told. Listen, for I shall verily explain their faith threefold. Whichever of the three qualities is dominant in that being, that nature of faith is predominant. So Shraddha also is having a stamp, as we saw just now, a story of Ravana. Sometimes Rajas, sometimes Tamas, sometimes Sattva. Well, like that, there's a stamp of the gunas on the Shraddha as well. It is a triple combination, Krishna says. Whether you are asking me, is it Sattvic, is it Rajasic? No, it's a combination of these three. Whichever quality is dominant, that is the predominant faith in that individual. This overall stamp, it can be red, it can be green, it can be blue. Just one of the three. Maybe there are shades, but overall hue will be one of the three, is what Krishna is saying. Sattvanurupa sarvasya shraddha bhavati bharata. Shraddha mayoyam purusho yo yat shraddha sa eva saha. This is another beautiful shloka, like Shraddhavan labate jnanam. Here it is Shraddha mayoya purusha. Krishna says, oh Arjuna, the faith in every being is distinct. It is distinct. And he says, depending purely on the soul's natural instinct. Made up of faith is the inner embodiment living. However, his faith is that way is the being. So Krishna says, Shraddha is very unique in each individual. Means each of us, my Shraddha for the divine will be very different from your Shraddha for the divine. It is there, Shraddha will be there, but it will have a different, flavor only. It can be people on the same marga, same, what we can say, same pantha under the same guru also. Yet the Shraddha's natures will be different because that is a beauty. It's like all of us wearing different clothes. Even if you see right now, colors, everybody is wearing different colored clothes, isn't it? But ultimately, everybody is wearing the same. They are wearing clothes only, but it's all different colors, something like that. These three permutation combination of so many shades of Rajas, Tamas, Sattva. If you just look at it in the color combinations, it's like that. So many colors are there, isn't it? They are having the same primary colors combinations, but the outcome is very different when you adjust the shades. As simple as that, Shraddha is also unique. That is why when late Venugopal ji, who was in a group called Krishna's Delight Family, when he would call Joker to Krishna, I could not dare to say, no, sir, don't call him Joker. Because that was his Shraddha. And his love for Krishna was so much that it was not meant as an insult. Somebody else would get insulted. Don't you call Don't you call him Joker? One particular person from a different Sampradaya got in Marathi as we were talking. I just said something, his head is only spoiled. He said, what? I said, God's head is only spoiled. He is doing so much. That was a casual talk which I said out of love. For that was my relation with the divine because I was facing some difficulties, and so I said, God's head is spoiled. I'm not saying that, isn't it? Again, which head is spoiled will be the question if you go into deeper, because Sahasra Shirsha Purusha, hundreds and thousands of heads are there according to Purusha Sukta. So if you go deeper into debate unnecessarily, it will go, am I saying all thousands of heads are destroyed, spoiled? No, it was not that. It was just a bhava. It was my bhava, my relation with my Bhagwan, my relation with Aradhya. It's a personal aspect. But what I did probably was I should not have said it to that person because that person is a different one. So I could have kept quiet, maybe not said it. But again, that person is also not wrong in saying you should not say that. I was like, yes, okay, I'm sorry about it. I'll not say that. But then what I feel also, I think I have the right to experience what I feel because it's a personal relation. Maitri is there, Sakha Bhava is there, then why not? Why not? I can play games with just how he plays games with me also. It is as simple as that. So the Shraddha is unique in each and every individual. That is one important aspect. And how is it? It is totally based on the svabhava of the person, based on natural instinct, based on whatever baggage of karma which we have carried forward. Based on that, that is having a stamp on our Shraddha towards the divine, based on what experiences we've had, good, bad, mixed, whatever they are. Our relation with the divine is also somehow governed. Made up of faith is the inner embodiment living. The inner, yes, sir. So in a moment, I'll just come to. I'll finish this next point and then look at your query. The made up of faith is the inner embodiment living, meaning it is the constitution of a person's existence. That is the Shraddha. However, is the faith, that way is that being. It is said, isn't it? You are what you think. Because if you keep thinking something, it comes into the Acharan. You bring it into practice also. So that is why they say have good thoughts, think well. Because if you're having only bad thoughts and thinking bad, unknowingly, subconsciously, you might end up doing bad also. So don't allow your mind to get carried away. Something like that. It is the inner fundamental aspect is what Krishna is saying. However is the faith of that person, that is the way he is. This also makes it all the more important to be very delicate while handling matters of Shraddha. Because it is the ground of a person, isn't it? It is the base, it is the foundation of an individual. Can we go and break somebody else's Shraddha? No, we should not. We should never do that. The mother also had told one of her sadhaks that you cannot, because he went on saying you are all following unnecessary rituals, don't do this, don't do that. So you cannot, unless that person has something else to hold on to, you can't take away something which person is holding on to in life, isn't it? You will disturb that person completely. Imagine somebody is cherishing something, it is something most sweetest thing of that person's life, and somebody comes and just breaks it. Unless there is something else to hold on to, unless that person feels he has to evolve, she has to evolve and hold on to something that is right, you can't break it. If your dharma comes in way and you have to say, you speak, but do not speak with the intention of harm or hurting. Speak it quietly, but don't understand that, because psychologists also talk about the same thing. Don't break a person's philosophy. Don't try to break a person's way of thinking. If the person is psychotic, the person will attack you. If the person is neurotic, the person will cause harm to the self. Why? Why do we need to do that? It's not required. Don't try to go and change somebody else. That's why from the beginning, Krishna has been telling, na buddhi bheda. Here in the 17th Adhyaya, we understand because it is an essential thing, fundamentally important thing for that person. Don't touch on somebody's Shraddha. It's like duktinas. That point, you touch somebody's weak point and they get hurt. It's like I have a wound and you're putting salt on that wound, or you're pressing on that wound only. What's going to happen? You're going to trigger a Asuri nature only, even if the person may be a very divine natured person, you're going to trigger something else. And you are also doing it in a force of governed by your gunas. That person is also going to get trapped. New sanskara, new cycle, new yuddha, new Mahabharat will start. Instead, walk your path. So yes, Sureshji, yes, sir, you were asking something. Sorry for the delay. Yes, please. Please unmute, sir.
Is it Shraddha is nothing but values of the individual, isn't it?
Yes, yes, you can call it that. But it is actually very difficult to translate or define also, because Shraddha
Okay.
can be called devotion in English. It can be
Okay.
called love. It can be called, now Bhakti is also part of Shraddha only. But somebody says Shraddha and Bhakti are different. Means Shraddha, I say, for example, I have Shraddha in my mother, and that is not going to change. Not in this birth, I don't know. In the next birth, I will come and trouble her again. I don't mind. But that I don't know. But Shraddha will not change. Somebody comes and says, Ki, Bete, I am your real mother. Here, like in the movies, they show, no? This is the certificate. I have DNA proof and evidence that all these years I was your real mother. I said, "Hey, you were my real mother, but my Shraddha is here. That DNA certificate, maybe you are correct also. But I recognize this as my mother now. This is not going to change because this Shraddha is something which will not change. So, and everybody needs a Shraddha sthana. Everybody has a Shraddha sthana, even if they don't know it. First is recognizing you have a Shraddha sthana, then holding on to it firm, because that is only going to take you. Krishna says, Shraddha Mayoya Purusha. What is a Shraddha sthana? For somebody, it could be parents, it could be Mata, it could be Pita, it could be Guru, it could be Dev, it could be even a Sakha who is very much like a Guru for so many people. A friend who is very experienced, who is always, then this comes from experience only. We realize it from experience, isn't it? It is from lived experience that Shraddha develops naturally. For me, my Shraddha in mother has come from my experience from childhood. So, like that, yes, Sureshji, values, yes. But maybe
Yeah.
whatever you understand and you hold on, means, for example, for you,
Yeah.
what would you hold on to as a Shraddha Sthana, sir, in your life? What would you hold on to as Shraddha Sthana? A rock solid pillar of support at all times.
Friendship.
Friendship, Maitri. Okay. Again, that is a
Yes.
beautiful one. And so you have had some friends whom you can always rely on. That is the greatest luxury
Yes.
of life, isn't it? The
Yes.
richest person is the one who has friends. Indeed, indeed. Yes, sir. All right, sir. Thank you. So let us, I think, yes, we'll look at one more shloka and then we will stop. Yajante satvika devan yaksha rakshansi rajasaha pretan bhuta ganan chanye yajante tamasa janaha. The men of sattva offer their oblations to the devas, to the gods, those of rajas to the brute beings and wealthy demigods. The beings of tamas to the restless spirits offer their prayers, and to the deceased beings roaming in the subtle layers. So again, what happens according to the Shraddha? The stamp of Shraddha is there. The person goes on that marga. Some are on the marga, they offer to the divine, they recognize the Aradhya and they want nothing in return. That is the Sattvic. Means without expecting anything in return, just offering to the divine. But then there are some who make it a business deal. It is Rajasic prayers. I offer this, I need these returns. You have signed it in the contract. God, you have to return this to me. I have given this, I have done so much for you. One Shishya had come and asked, or it was not Shishya, actually somebody who was walking on the path, another path, but came and asked Damleji this question. We have to do something for God also, isn't it? Damleji laughed and said, yes, so what are you going to do for God? You're going to give God a bath. Have you taken bath yourself? That is the first question. Are you going to do, what are you going to do for God? Means you're not going to do for God, you're going to do it for yourself, isn't it? But people have this, but I will worship this particular deva, so I get a particular return. One great Pandit, we were showing a beautiful plant, Krishna Kadamba. No? Kadamba tree is something a very special one, Krishna's favorite one. So there, we just showed it to that person. Oh, this place, no, you can sit down and do a particular study of Lakshmi mantra, and then you will immediately get well. Do it this many times, he started advising. Now we're not, nobody wanted to do it. Afterwards, also nobody did after being told that. Of course, we're not ridiculing that. I'm not saying that. But experiencing the beauty, that is the nature of a person. Somebody wants to, at that particular moment, that was not the discussion. We are not trying to question anybody's Shraddha. It is right, whatever Shraddha a person is having, as long as it is not harming another person, not going or taking a person against the world or against Loka Sangra, it's fine. Let that person experience, because evolution takes place, no? Once Shraddha also evolves. What I am speaking today, what I am believing today, it is my Shraddha right now. Who knows? As of now, fortunately, by divine grace, it has not changed. But tomorrow something else will change, means that words will change. So it is all momentary. Do not get disturbed because this person spoke to me like this. 10 years ago, you spoke to me like this. What about it? One friend of mine asked me what I told him in class 9th. I don't even remember what I told him, and he said, what about that? I said, boss, I'm sorry. I was a stupid person in class 9. Now I am less stupid in that time. So I recognize that was wrong. No, but you said it. I said, yeah, but that was my approach then. I did not realize now life has changed completely. I've understood something, and fundamentally some things will never change, isn't it? What is truth will remain the truthfulness. So we had some long discussion about selflessness, and I had told him that this is a particular approach we should take. And he said, no, this world will crush you. I said, it's okay, let the world crush. He said, you are still in that philosophy of getting yourself crushed. I said, no, that's wrong. That's not the right philosophy. But you said it that time. That time I was wrong. It is as simple as that. But what should we not ever lose connect with is the truth. And for that, we need a Shraddhasthana, and we have to hold on to it. So the Sattvic ones will offer to the Deva. They'll say, Agneya Swaha, Agneya Idan Namama. Suryaya Swaha, Suryaya Idan Namama. Prajapate Swaha, Prajapate Idan Namama. Not me. I'm not asking anything in return. Tira Tujhko Arpan. That is the bhava. Rajasic ones will say, no, don't worship Shiva. He is a Vairagi. He is always experiencing Vairagya. He is a Viragi, so he is there in Shmashan all the time. Worship Kubera. He will give you wealth. Your bank balance will improve. Stock markets, your investments will suddenly double. So start worshipping him. That is Rajasika approach. FDs will also start increasing if you start worshipping Kubera. That is what an approach is. But if you ask a Sattvic person, he'll say, how did Kubera become rich? Because of the blessing of Shiva. But that person will not understand. So it's all right. That is the Rajasic nature. Then there are the others. There are the others who do sadhana. They connect with the spirits. But some of them try to use the spirits for material purpose, what we call bhuta vidya. They try to utilize that. And that is a tamasic shraddha. Again, that's a shraddha. It is a shraddha, isn't it? We can understand it. All right. Each of us can choose our marga. We're not trying to say this is good, this is bad, this is not so good. It's all right. Everybody has the right, whatever relates best to you, you can choose, because that is the freedom in Sanatan Dharma. Each of us can choose our Aradhya. I mean, where is this opportunity? It is like you do not get so many options for choosing anywhere. Even when you try to go to a meal in the biggest restaurant, you can't choose. But in Sanatan Dharma, you can choose your Aradhya. But with Shraddha, hold on to it, because that will govern everything. That is the essence. So this part is Shraddha. And then how the three gunas affect a person, or what are the consequences, or what we can say, how these three gunas and Shraddha interact, that we'll see tomorrow. With this, we stop. We stop at shloka number 4. If somebody can summarize what we saw today, that will be wonderful. And then we can conclude with the Shanti Mantra. If any queries are there, we can look at it. And mostly, I think in next week, around Wednesday, I think Wednesday or at the most Thursday, our Gita study will be completed. Yes, please. Anybody can summarize?
May I?
Yes, sir. Yes, ji. Chaitanya ji.
Today we started with Shri Krishna was explaining about demonic people, and he said that those people fail to see the divinity around, and eventually the calm and crowd take over and they do the wrong things. For such people, there is probably nothing like God or no good things. They just get trapped into in their demonic nature. But Sri Krishna says that the karmafal of the karmafal, that thing that never leaves. It is even there across births, and for such people, actually, you can say punish them, or eventually as a part of the consequence, they eventually get born into the lowest wombs where they again suffer and have that demonic environment around, and probably they have to at some time break these things and come out to actually progress. Shri Krishna said there are three gates to Naraka, or three things that basically, that basically bring that Naraka like experience to your life, and those are desire, rage, and lust. Uh, yeah. So after that, he was also saying that when I'm saying that if you don't, if you don't come out of these things, or you go with demonic nature, it's not that I am cursing it. It is just a consequence that you will not progress. So there is no cursing, but yeah, but someone who has actually realized the divinity and has closed these three gates for Naraka and realized the divine, he can even try. I mean, progress on the path alone as well. He probably also does not need someone else's validation. But yeah, for that, the divine has to be realized, and the Shri Krishna is always going to be there as a guiding path for guiding person for that individual. Then there was a question about Shastra. I mean, what happens if people don't read Shastra and still follow and still do their karmas with Shraddha? And Sri Krishna had before that said that you can read Shastra, you can even I mean when you are reading Shastra, you just don't have to just read it and take do the literal things in them. You actually have to understand what the inner meaning is, what the spirit is, and accordingly you have to practice it, and that only will help you. And even if there is no, I mean, even if you have not read Shastra, as Arjuna had asked a question that if I don't read Shastra but I'm still doing my karma with Shraddha, Shri Krishna says that is also fine. But eventually they will even the Shraddha has stamp of three gunas, which is your Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. And whichever guna is dominant, the nature of Shraddha is like that. So, and even because as we discussed that this permutation and combination of all these three gunas is different in different people, accordingly even the Shraddha is going to have that stamp of Swabhava, and that faith is going to have that stamp of whatever experiences that person had, and whatever was the Swabhava accordingly. So he said, don't directly go and break someone's Shraddha. I mean, you also need to give something them to hold on to instead. I mean, because that is very important, because that is a faith with which the person is operating. And when you are actually trying to change something in terms of Shraddha with other person, I think it is also important that they have to be ready to accept that, because if you are not, if they are not there, it is not going to work. So the three natures, I mean, the effect of three gunas on the Shraddha, Sri Krishna explained that Sattvic in Sattvic Shraddha, people offer everything to divine without any expectation, without any attachment, and they are happy doing that. In Rajasic, they actually offer it to divine or demigods for with some expectation that because they want to get something back from divine in return, and that's why probably they are trying to please the god. And the third one is Tamasic Shraddha, where they offer to restless spirits or souls dwelling in certain realm, and probably to get the tamasic things in the things with tamasic nature in return. So all three gunas have some sort of a stamp on your Shraddha, and even whichever guna, it is still a Shraddha. So probably what Sri Krishna is trying to say is, according to the stamp of your Shraddha, you're going to get the what do you say, your progression is going to be on that particular path, or whatever you receive back is going to be on that lens only.
Yeah, absolutely, Chaitanya. So then, whichever marga it is, we don't have to name that this is Vama marga, which is lower, or this is Dakshina marga, or this is this sampardaya, that is that sampardaya, which is inferior. We have no right to speak about it. Have we experienced divinity? Have we experienced that level of consciousness to say, maybe somebody, some great guru may have spoken it. That is from their experience. That is from their adhikara to speak. But we don't have that adhikara. We have not earned it, isn't it? Many times we read something from here and start telling somebody else. That's not there. And one small question that I had was because Krishna has not fully answered about the scriptures. So can we knowingly not follow the scriptures? Inadvertently, you don't follow the scriptures, all right. But knowingly, consciously, can we choose to not follow them?
I think whatever capacity we can,
Yeah.
and if it is.
All right. Ayataji says whatever capacity. Yes, Chaitanya ji?
I think, I mean, knowingly or unknowingly, because it is very much possible that we may not know all of the things that are there in Shastra, right? So, but always, I mean, Shri Krishna has told about how you can do your karma with Shraddha, Bhakti, without attachment. All those things are, I mean, in terms of what he has explained before, if we are following that, and then additionally, if we come to know things about it, or if you are actually going into deep, that is different. But I think the core thing is, if you are actually doing the I mean, I think there were three margas, right, which we had discussed, with Bhakti, with Jnana Marga, and everything. So
Actually, there are more, and this is
yeah,
just classification. And some people say they are not three also. There's one, triple path.
correct.
Jnana,
So
Karma,
that probably knowledge or the Shastra is one of the aspects of it, but what they're trying to lead you to, if you are, again, you're getting to that by other aspects of it, then again, I mean, it's okay. I mean, it's not absolutely necessary that you go and follow everything that is written there in Shastra, but yeah, if you are doing other things which are actually leading you, then
Chaitanya ji,
probably,
this one small thing is like consciously not following is not right.
yeah, correct, yeah,
You know it,
consciously not, yeah.
means if you know, come
We
like,
cannot follow.
yes, Suresh ji?
Yeah, without knowing the basics, we can't play the game. We should
That
know
is,
the rules of the game.
yeah, we should
Then
know the
only
rules
we
of
can
the game.
enter the
Yes,
field and
because,
play the game.
yeah, because they say a little knowledge is dangerous, they say, no?
Yeah.
Deep knowledge is also creating trouble. So what happens is somebody reads this, then there's somebody takes this shloka from Gita and say, I know only this much, so I will do like this, and they try to do Tantra Sadhana also. You're doing Tantra Sadhana, become conscious of it, isn't it? Instead, I'm here, night hits like Trishanku. You're not here also, not there also. And
It
you are
leads to
stand on top
disruption.
of everybody else. Best example
Leads.
best thing I can think of is when I was running in the ground. I don't know, I have this habit of people, anybody comes, my sister says, koi bhi aake sikhata hai. So I was doing a particular exercise. One senior person quickly came to me and he said, you're doing wrong. I was like, acha sir, theek hai. Please tell me how to do it, right? And he actually very sweetly told it to me. I was very happy. I was saying thank you very much. He said, पता नहीं है गलती किया तो प्रॉब्लम नहीं. I was like, okay. Then he added secondly, अब बताया ना, अब गलती की तो छोड़ूंगा नहीं. I got so scared. कि अरे अभी what is he going to do? Is he going to hit me? But the bhava of that was this. This was a very beautiful aspect. Is now I have introduced to you the meaning, the purpose. Now you know the meaning of doing certain things. And then you become unconscious out of whim or out of tamas, then it's a problem, isn't it?
Correct. Yeah.
That is the only one part we have to be careful because sometimes there is a slight tendency because we are all human, isn't it? कि चला
Correct.
चलता है, and we start. That should not happen. That's all. Yes, sir.
Hari Om.
Yes,
I had one question. Now, what happens when an individual is affected by another individual's karma?
Everybody is always affected by another person. At
So-
any
so-
moment.
So, is it right to make that change so that it doesn't impact you?
No, I have a little bit clarity more and a little more clarity in the question.
Right. Right now, for example, we discussed it is not right to change
Okay.
um,
Shraddha of
change the
someone.
shraddha of somebody. So, in the event another person's actions
Are affecting you
are affecting you
adversely.
adversely,
Then it is
so
your swadharma. Swadharma. Krishna says swadharmat nidhanam shreya. Even if you perish upholding your swadharma, it is still considered worthy because your swadharma should be protected. If now it is an attack, isn't it? It is an attack on you. It is no more just a point of view. Hari Om, the screen froze. I can't hear you, sir.
lost you for a second.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it is an attack on Swadharma. Swadharma is something you must always protect. You must. It is your duty. So there you do not allow. Probably you can create a barrier, no? And there you have to go and tell this. Have the habit of bearing everything. I don't think we need to do that. It's like a security guard is standing by the gate. Children are coming and just throwing stones, and he's just blocking himself when the stones are being thrown. It's not enough, isn't it? He has to raise his stick and show, don't you dare come. I will walk 2 steps outside and chase you away, and I might give you one rap also for attacking me. Then that will never happen again. Deterrent action is also, it should be taken. But when you're taking it again, don't get driven by passion and this. But at any given time, because we are living in cohabitation, we live in society, we live together with people. Each other's karmas have some influence on us. Sanskaras are created. Somebody else's things will have some kind of imprint on us. Why? Even words will have an imprint. Somebody cracks a joke or tells something up to you sometime. You'll remember and laugh afterwards, no? Because that has created an imprint inside of you. So it is there. Everywhere we are going to have influences. Ideal would be if you can protect yourself. But when it comes to Swadharma, you must stand to it. How you stand to it, that is important. If you stand to it with Rajas, you will invite more Rajas only. Hold on to your Aradhya strength, get the direction. And really, the experience is there that the Aradhya gives the directions. A mouse can become like a lion also suddenly with the wish of the divine. I can say case in point, my own experience. I rarely fight, but there were a bunch of youngsters coming asking for some kind of money and all, and I was able to quietly deal. I also don't know how I dealt it at that moment. I would say Krupa of my guru or whatever Ashirwad is there, that helped. But that helps. But that time I did not get frustrated. I did not get afraid. I did not show my weakness, because if I had shown my weakness there, they would have kept coming again and again, again and again. Last so many years, I would have got troubled by their repeated visits. But that day's whatever reaction was given, it after that day nobody came there again. So that was again in my heart. It was different feeling inside. I was not so calm on the outside while dealing with all of them, but on the inside, and I was laughing after they went, and I was saying, "Thank you, God, Bhagwan, aapne to bacha diya." Because that time you can, if you allow your desires, emotions, everything to come in place, that becomes a problem. But we don't have. Gita should not make us weak. Gita should not make us vulnerable. And absolutely, just because we are tolerant, we should not be punching bags for the world. That is very important. In college, I was reading Dalai Lama's book. Somebody had given it to me, and I was very sincerely reading it. I made the mistake of not covering it. So all my classmates came to know, oh, he's reading about Buddhism. He's not going to get angry. That's it. Then I did another stupid thing, intercollegiate tournament also I took it. The word went that I'm reading it, and then other college friends also, whenever they met me, he's not going to get irritated. They kept triggering me. So this is not something we should make ourselves vulnerable to. That is not why we are, because we are becoming patient does not mean we are becoming tolerant to injustice. There is an injustice either to self or to somebody else that we cannot allow. And of course, awakening the mind, and that book is not talking about it, of course. It was my starting, I had not read it fully, so I was thinking this was the approach. So, all right, I think with this we can conclude with the Shanti Mantra. Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hari Om. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramayaः, सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत्. हरि ओम तत्सत्. कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं. जय श्री कृष्ण.
Hari Om.
नमस्ते सर. हरि ओम. हेलो.
Hari Om.
हरि ओम सर. Thank you.
Hari Om, Namaskar.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Looking forward tomorrow. Hari Om. All right. I'll conclude the session then. Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.